So it's probably possible it's in retaliation to young Dolph. And if that's the case, and that's his brother, it's going to continue. And Yo, Gotti, Big Jook's brother, sure continued the retaliation cycle and ended the man who killed his brother. However, Gotti didn't expect the feds to come after him. And word is that the feds have enough evidence to keep him locked up forever. The man behind the curtain. There is a specific kind of power that operates best in shadow. Not the power of the stage, not the power of platinum records or billboard charts or sold-out arenas, but the quieter, heavier kind. The kind that moves things without ever appearing to move. The kind that makes decisions that other people have to live with or die from. Anthony Mims was that kind of power. You have heard his name. You know him as Big Jook, done older brother to Mario Mims, the man the world knows as Yo Gotti, one of the most commercially successful rappers Memphis has ever produced. Big Jook was a central figure at collective music group CMG. The label Yo Gotti built into a genuine industry force, home to artists like Moneybagg Yo, Glorilla, and ESTG. His exact title at the label was never officially defined. He wasn't the one on stage. He wasn't the one dropping albums or doing press runs. He was the one in the room when the real conversations happened. The talent scout, the project manager, the man whose Instagram page was wall-to-wall CMG promotion, always present, always involved, always close to the center of everything. He was 47 years old when they killed him. And the story of how he died cannot be told without first understanding the story of how he lived, specifically, and how he allegedly used the power and the resources of one of Memphis's most powerful music operations to wage a private war against a man who had simply refused to join their team. Their man was young Dolph. The origin of the CMG PR feud stretches back to 2014 when young Dolph, Adolph Thornton Jr., publicly disclosed that he had turned down an offer to sign with CMG. Dolph had built Paper Route Empire with his own money, reportedly $3 million of personal investment. And he was not interested in surrendering ownership of what he'd built to anybody, no matter how attractive the offer. He had gone into a studio with Gotti, heard the pitch firsthand, and walked away. But the way he walked away, and what Gotti said in that room before he did, planted the seed of a grudge that would take years to fully bloom and cost multiple people their lives before it was finished. Dolph described Gotti clearing the entire room to speak with him one-on-one, then proceeding to talk down about his own signed artists, Zilla Starito, throwing them under the bus as a sales tactic, essentially saying, "Those guys needed babysitting, but you're different. You're built for this." To Dolph, that moment of betrayal toward Gotti's own artists was a red alert that told him everything he needed to know about the man he was dealing with. You going to really sit and downplay your artist and throw your artist up on the bus to try to persuade me in to come over there? He said no. He kept Paper Route Empire and Gotti. According to Dolph, kept texting for 2 years trying to change his mind. Yo, God was texting my phone for 2 years straight. What you doing, bro? What you working on, bro? Let's do this. Memphis, though, is a small city. A city where independence reads as defiance. Where saying no to the wrong person in the wrong room carries consequences that have nothing to do with music. By 2016, the quiet rejection had publicly exploded. Dolph released his debut album, King of Memphis, on the same day as Gotti's The Art of Hustle. The title itself, a direct territorial challenge to Gotti's self-proclaimed reign over the city. That same month, CMG artist Black Youngsta showed up in Dolph's South Memphis neighborhood with an armed crew looking for him. The diss tracks came, the social media wars came, and then in February 2017, Dolph released Play with Yo, a vicious, personal, full-scale assault that went directly after Gotti that mocked him, that put a lookalike in the music video and humiliated him in front of the entire rap world. Crucially and fatally, it also went after Big Jook by name. Traplore Ross, one of the most thorough documentarians of this entire saga, described the track as devastating, not just musically, but personally. A public humiliation aimed at the heart of CMG's inner circle. There was a very vicious diss song where Dolph was dissing Gotti's brother, Big Jook, who obviously has become a big part of this. He's obviously part Dolph dropped that very, very vicious diss track. Absolutely tore Big Jook and Yo Gotti apart. He had the body double in the video. For a man like Big Jook, who operated in the shadows, who wielded real-world power, who was by all accounts a genuine figure in the Memphis street hierarchy, being publicly dragged in a rap video was not something that got laughed off. It was something that demanded a response. In February 2017, 25 days after the diss track dropped, Dolph's bulletproof SUV was struck with over 100 rounds in Charlotte, North Carolina during CIAA weekend. Black Youngsta and 2 associates were charged with discharging a weapon into occupied property. The charges against Youngsta were eventually dropped. Dolph walked away because his truck was bulletproof. He went and performed his show that same night and turned the entire experience into an album called Bulletproof. 7 months later, in September 2017, Dolph was shot outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. Both Gotti's entourage and Dolph were at the same hotel. LAPD cleared Gotti as a person of interest. A Gotti associate named Corey McClendon was arrested for attempted murder and then released without charges. Big Jook was in the background of all of it, not charged, not named in any of these incidents directly, operating exactly the way powerful men who operate in shadow are supposed to, present in the consequences, invisible in the causation. And the whole time, according to what would later come out in court, he was building towards something far more permanent than a drive-by shooting or a botched attempt in Los Angeles. He was allegedly building toward a contract killing. And according to prosecutors, the list of people he put prices on didn't stop at young Dolph. Court documents allege that Big Jook had placed bounties on virtually the entire Paper Route Empire roster. $100,000 on Dolph, $50,000 on Key Glock, $50,000 on PR Wu, $20,000 on Snoopy Bands, $5,000 on Moochie Grape, a complete hit list, an entire independent label priced out for elimination. The internet reacted to that list with a kind of stunned fury. Fans of Paper Route Empire flooded social media with one message: protect Key Glock at all costs. Because Key Glock, young Dolph's cousin, his protege, the second most important artist on PR, had a $50,000 price on his head and had no idea how close the danger had apparently been. Big Jook's final Instagram post came on January 12, 2024. The caption read, "They don't want to face you. They want to snake you. Stay alert too. Stay alive. Watch your back at all times." He posted that the day before someone shot him in a parking lot outside a funeral in front of his mother. The man who allegedly built a machine of violence against an entire label never saw a courtroom. He died before any of it caught up with him legally, but the streets move faster than the courts always do. The $100,000 testimony. On November 17th, 2021, at Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies, young Dolph had been running Thanksgiving turkey giveaways through the neighborhood in South Memphis, the kind of community giving that defined who he was as a person, returning to the city that made him being visible and accessible in the way that people who understand where they came from tend to be. He stopped at Makita. A stolen white Mercedes-Benz pulled up. 2 men stepped out. 22 gunshot wounds. Head, neck, torso, extremities. The attack was captured on surveillance cameras. Young Dolph was killed almost instantly in the place he loved most, among the people he had spent his entire career trying to lift up. The people closest to him received the news in the way catastrophic news always arrives, without preparation, without mercy. Key Glock was at home when the call came through. Never forget, Yep. Where were you at? I was at home. I was at home, laying down, actually. He described hearing the tone in someone's voice before the words even came. That specific frequency of someone calling your name when something is wrong, when the world has already shifted underneath you and they're just now telling you about it. Yeah. Did somebody call you, or it come when somebody called me in the house? Like, you know how you can hear when somebody call your name, like the tone of their voice, like you know something wrong, you just don't know what it is. Weeks later, asked how he was holding up. Keelock had one word: content. Not better, not worse. Just hear Cirque feet feeling how you holding up. I'm content. I'm content. That grief is the emotional weight that sits underneath everything that followed. But the legal process was already moving, and it was moving toward a courtroom that would eventually force the man allegedly at the center of all of this big jook into the conversation in the most public and damning way possible. In January 2022, Justin Johnson, a rapper recording under the name Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith were arrested as the two shooters. Hernandez Gowan was charged as the alleged organizer of the murder, and Justin's half-brother, Jarkus Johnson, was charged as an accessory. 4 people, 1 dead man, and for 2 years, the question of who ordered the hit remained publicly unanswered. A name everyone in Memphis apparently knew, but that hadn't yet been spoken in a courtroom. In September 2024, Justin Johnson's trial finally began, and the man who answered that question was Cornelius Smith. Smith had pleaded guilty to first-degree murder just before the trial started. In exchange for cooperating with prosecutors against Johnson, he took the witness stand and described everything, every meeting, every conversation, every movement on the day of the murder. And at the center of his testimony was Big Jook. Smith testified that Big Jook had placed a $100,000 bounty on Young Dolph's life. He said that Hernandez Gowan, the alleged middleman, had brought both Smith and Johnson into the plan, relaying Big Jook's instructions and promise of payment. The money was to be divided as follows: $40,000 each for Smith and Johnson as the shooters, $20,000 for Govan as the broker. Shelby County Deputy District Attorney Paul Hager-Mannerman alleged in his opening statements that Big Jook had offered Johnson something beyond the money, a path into CMG itself. The proposition, as prosecutors framed it, kill Dolph, eliminate the rival label's biggest name, and earn a recording deal with CMG as a reward. Career advancement purchased with another man's blood. Justin Johnson had aspired to be a rapper. He had reportedly been invited to Atlanta by Big Jook and Gowan for conversations about his music career, and somewhere in those conversations, according to prosecutors, a murder contract was born. Mies Smith described how he and Johnson tracked Dolph's movements during the Thanksgiving giveaway period, knowing he would be out in the community without heavy security. They spotted his vehicle, followed it to Makita's Cookies, and moved in. Smith confirmed he fired first, armed with a semi-automatic rifle, while Johnson used a handgun. He identified himself in the surveillance footage. He confirmed their escape in the stolen Mercedes, the changing of clothes at an apartment complex, the attempted destruction of the vehicle afterward, and then under cross-examination. Smith admitted something that stopped the courtroom. The murder happened on his daughter's birthday. He acknowledged it, said he did it for the money, said it was supposed to be a financially beautiful day for his family. After the shooting, Boris Smith began trying to collect what he had been promised. He reached out to Johnson repeatedly. The conversations went through Jamarcus Johnson, Justin's half-brother, who had taken possession of Justin's phone after the murder to help construct alibis and control communications. Smith didn't know this at first. He thought he was talking to Justin directly. What he received for his trouble was this: "And obviously, you're supposed to get $40,000 incur, right? But you got $500 in a letter." $500 tucked inside a letter handed to an old woman at a front door. Then a few days later, another delivery arranged through intermediaries collected by Smith's girlfriend on a street corner. both parties masked so neither could be identified. All right, so now we've been paid about $800.